a lot of people throughout the country, maybe not as much in this area, really don't feel that voting makes any difference. Can you explain why you think it does?
Voting is essentially an expression of our voice. And if you don't take the time to do it, then your voice is never, ever heard. Because when we go door to door, we go after who? We go after high propensity voters. And so if someone doesn't vote, we never knock on that particular door. And so how do you really engage with an issue, or how do you even express your angst or concerns? And then when a real issue happens, there's nobody willing to listen to you because this particular demographic doesn't vote. And this is what I tell our Indian American folks. So I'll give you an example. In the city of Saratoga, we have about 1,400 Indian Americans who are registered to vote. And then when I look at the percentage, only a total of 145 vote on a high propensity basis.
Wow.
And that is really sad. And this is what I remind people that, hey, if you really want your voice to be heard and acknowledged, then you have to vote, because that is the most powerful tool that you have in your toolkit.
It reminds me of the saying, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What got you involved in politics to begin with? You have like a technical background, right?
Correct, yes. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I moved into the software industry, worked many years at IBM. And high-tech geek is what I call myself. But in Silicon Valley, all the geeks are rock stars, But the thing is, I think I take a lot of pride in belonging here in Silicon Valley, because this is the innovation that we roll out here powers the economy not only of California, not only of the United States, but also of the whole world. Which is pretty phenomenal. The kind of we are so successful with taking a piece of knowledge and idea and turning it into a money-making machine. So that's pretty effective what we have done. I call it the secret innovation sauce of Silicon Valley. But what I realized was that what we do in the world of tech, if you apply that same framework to a different problem, the results can be equally phenomenal. Which is really I arrived at as an activist. When I would see problems happening around me, I would step up and try to do something. And I realized that people started coming to you when they had a problem. Like, why are they coming to me? What have I done? But there was something that we were able to navigate through, and in terms of how we were creating solutions and addressing the challenges that people were having. And this, I realized, it was creating a deep, immense joy and happiness inside me, which was like, wow, what is this? And so when initially when I wanted to do all this, my wife kept telling me like, hey, come back, take care of the kids and all that kind of stuff. And but she realized eventually that what was happening was I was discovering a true happiness within me in going out there and doing things for the world. And then now she has become completely integrated with everything. In the 2014 run, she was part of it, 2018 run, and then again now in 2020. Because I think she has discovered the value from public service or trying to help people. And that's keeping both of us engaged and happy,
That's a great story. I like that. It's sort of like because you were problem solution oriented, politics came to you rather than you being kind of, hey, I want to be famous and get into politics.
That is very true, David, because if I look at, I ran for city council in 2014 November, but if I look at 2013 October, I had no idea I was going to run. And then this run for Congress, I had no idea in 2018 November when I won my city council election, the re-election, I had no idea I would be running for Congress. So things have just sort of like happened, and I still don't know how, but it's a great journey. It's a very good journey.
Yeah. So I've paid a lot of, personally, I've paid a lot of attention to the effect of money in politics, and particularly on the Democratic Party, which saddens my heart. I wonder what you could say about, this is a very sort of Northern California is sort of a very democratic area. But there seems to be a division between kind of the old style, take a lot of money from big companies, and your approach. Can you explain why do you have a different approach, and why should it matter to voters?
Yep. I think this is probably a very important piece of my agenda. In fact, just today we did a press release on that. Rishi is determined to take the big money out of politics. And what does that mean? So you look at the current campaign contributions that are coming to our congressional leaders, $44 million to hundreds of congressional leaders. And why? Because there are the industry bigwigs, the industry vertical, the special interest groups who are trying to prevent Medicare for all. Because, there is a lot of tension building up because, there is a lot of profit taking that has happened in the healthcare industry, and that is at jeopardy. So that's what is happening. And then there is a clear-cut nexus. Clear-cut. I can show you that proof trail, David. When somebody takes money from special interest groups, they are going to be responding to their needs because it's very difficult to say no. And that's the reason why there are progressives in the country, like me, who have pledged to never accept campaign contributions from special interest groups and PACs. That keeps it very simple. That keeps my conscience clear. And then when you see an issue, you're able to jump in with all your might to address it. And that's my driving force, because in January 2021, when we are elected, we'll be out there championing the issues of the people, not the special interest groups. Which doesn't mean that I will not be addressing the needs of economy and business and things like that, right? Because that is a true opportunity we have to ensure that America continues to be successful, but not at the cost of people. So will I try to tie down our high-tech economy into policies and things like that? Not really. But if there are issues that are happening where the people's interest has been trampled upon, then that's the time where someone like me needs to jump in. And so I'll be vigilant. I'll be watching out for all these activities to see where that is coming into play. And for example, data privacy, citizens' privacy, that has become a big issue. But if someone like me was in office, then we would be proactively addressing it much before this debacle happened. Mm-hmm. Because for me, we keep referring to citizen-centric, people-centric behavior, and that is really the driving force behind our campaign,
Yeah. So another way of saying that is that a people-centric campaign doesn't really have a deaf ear to the needs of business, but it's not driven by business interests.
Correct.
Is that pretty much it?
Yep, I would say so. Yep.
Yeah. What is the impetus to run for Congress to get involved with these issues? Is it healthcare? Was it kind of the main driving thing, or what was it for you?
I think healthcare, and look at the campaign contributions and how they're affecting the politics in the country. But there are lots of reasons why I'm running, but there's one big one. There's a big one, which is the innovation economy that we have here in Silicon Valley. There is a huge opportunity, David, for someone like me who is technologically literate, in comparison to one of the congressmen calls the congressional leaders of the country as technologically illiterate. Mm. There's a big difference. And so I see a lot of folks just don't understand tech. And whatever has happened here has happened by brute force, because the DNA pool of people who come here are super smart, they are motivated, and they make things happen. They get things done. But what happens if somebody who's who's immersed in the world of tech, who has an inside view of it, how can they take this innovation secret sauce and seed it in different parts of California, in different parts of the United States? For example, West Virginia still has a coal-fired economy. Can we create an innovation economy for them? That's the opportunity we have, and that's my motivation, because people are very successful here. We are the 19th largest economy in the whole world here in Silicon Valley. 19th largest. And there is something obviously good that we are doing out here. Can we take this and provide that secret sauce to a lot of other folks and create an economy for the future for them? Look at redefining, creating opportunities for the son and daughter of a coal miner, for them to find a different source of livelihood. That's the opportunity we have. I would also like to talk a little bit about a mega Silicon Valley economy. And it's slightly divergent, but it's really about our economy. When you look at the current challenges in Silicon Valley, we have housing, transportation, we have homelessness. And then what's happening is there are companies, when they're expanding, opening up branches, offices, they're looking at Seattle, Austin, they're looking at other locations. So companies are exiting the valley because of the quality of life issues, because it's hard to attract talent, it's hard to recruit people, because the young engineers do not want to live here because it's so expensive, and they are stuck in traffic too. It's we don't have our quality of life has gone a little out of whack. So what we talk about is to basically addressing some of these core challenges we have here on the basis of high-speed transportation. Systems like the Hyperloop, which travel at 760 miles per hour. So if we define a system like that, a vision for transportation to address the traffic issues that we have here, you could literally have a much bigger Silicon Valley, because you could take 21 counties, which are currently called the Northern California mega region. You could create a bigger mega Silicon Valley that encompasses these 21 regions, 21 counties, and you have built a bigger economy. How? Because if you can reduce the commute time at 760 miles per hour, you can go from anywhere to anywhere from these 21 counties in 21 minutes, less than 21 minutes. And if you did that, you are addressing the issues with housing here, because we have a housing crunch. We are creating more jobs than we are creating housing. But if you provided the opportunity to buy, for example, in Tracy, you could buy a single family home for $300,000. Now you're creating an opportunity for young families to move in here, and living in Tracy, they could still be here in Sunnyvale in less than 21 minutes. So that's the opportunity we have to redefine a new future for Silicon Valley, which would lead to startups in Modesto, Stockton, Sacramento, Bakersfield, and Fresno. And that would create a much larger, bigger Silicon Valley, a bigger economy.
I have to say, this is the first time I've heard anybody offer a solution to that, because I drive out to the Sierras on a regular basis, and the traffic is just horrendous.
Yep.
As it is, and most of the city streets here, it took me about twice as long as I thought it was going to take me to get here, just waiting for traffic lights and that sort of thing. Well, that's very interesting. What would you place the odds of actually manifesting that, and over what time?
Yeah, it's pretty high, because that's my first 2 years. This is what we'll be talking about. And the thing is, we have invested in the railroad systems. We have invested in the freeway systems, but we haven't quite done anything. Now you look at the infrastructure in all these major cities we have in Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, the Bay Area, we are falling behind. And this is the vision setting that needs to happen for us to create a sustainable economy of the future. Because if companies keep leaving Silicon Valley, we have difficulty attracting talent. What's going to happen here? We're going to lose out. And the future of America is at stake in terms of how we're going to define a transportation system for these urban economies. It's very, very important. So for the first 2 years, that's what we'll be doing. And how do we, people have asked me about how will you create the money? Where will you bring in the money for these types of things? Our high tech, our companies here do very, very well, and they have billions of dollars, revenue, and $1 trillion market cap. I mean, they do very well. So it's an opportunity for a public sector, private sector partnership, because if we alleviate the quality of life issues we have here, the high tech economy will benefit tremendously. So there are different ways we can figure out, how we will invest in the infrastructure. But it's very important for us to carve out a vision statement, get everybody on the same page, and embrace that. When that happens, magic happens. That's it. So I truly believe that we'll make it happen.